Good afternoon, and welcome to the DCTV News at Noon program.
The Southwest TV Translator Association underwrites the news, and Dolores County Broadcasting Network provides the support for DCTV.
The News at Noon program assembles the best and most interesting news from the area, offers intriguing content for its viewers, and provides local weather for the Four Corners region. Give us a call with news tips or topics you'd like to see covered. The number is 677-4119.
We appreciate you watching. Today's show is live on Monday at noon and rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m. and again re-aired on Thursday at noon, 2:30 and 8. I'm Kendra Cook, and my co-hosts are Kelsey Kiesling and Jerry Tope with the weather. Here's what's in the news for August 29th, 2016. According to the Durango Herald, a former Durango man died in a motorized glider plane crash last Wednesday near Telluride. Robert B. Saunders, 64, known to some as Glider Bob, was piloting the aircraft when it went down for unknown reasons about 2 p.m. Wednesday in Prospect Basin, which is within the Telluride ski resort boundaries, according to a news release issued by the San Miguel County Sheriff's Office. A passenger on board, Ronald James Euchert, 66, of South Fork, also died in the crash. The National Transportation Safety Board arrived last Thursday to investigate the crash, but as of Thursday afternoon, there were no clues as to why the plane went down, according to Susan Lilly, spokeswoman for the Sheriff's Office. Saunders was a longtime glider pilot and flight instructor at the former Val Air Glider Port in the Animas Valley north of Durango. He also was a fine woodworker who specialized in cabinetry and furniture at his woodshop in Gem Village, said his longtime friend George Usenotz of Durango. He made the massive wooden front door for the former Faircourts Bar in Durango. He moved to Telluride in the 1990s and operated Glide Telluride, which offered year-round flights reaching 14 to 15,000 feet in elevation out of the Telluride Regional Airport. He was flying a German STEM motor glider, which has its own engine and propeller that allowed him to take off without being towed and tucked away under a streamlined nose when not in use. The crash was reported at 2:11 p.m. Wednesday. First responders said neither man had a pulse. They attempted life-saving measures but were unsuccessful. No one else was reported hurt in this incident.
This report is from the Dolores County Sheriff's Office. At 11:10 p.m. Saturday, August 27, 2016, the Dolores County Sheriff's Office received a call reporting a subject with a gunshot wound. The reporting party advised a young white male was the victim and was believed to be deceased. Upon arrival of a deputy, it was confirmed that the victim, Harley Haymond, date of birth 9/9/1996, was deceased. Sheriff Martin requested assistance from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation with processing of the scene. It was determined following a thorough investigation that Harley Haymond died from an accidental discharge of a semi-automatic pistol. Mr. Haymond was transported to Ertel Funeral Home, awaiting arrangements to be made by the family.
From the Cortez Journal, the National Park Service has completed its first 100 years of service, but for Mesa Verde Superintendent Cliff Spencer, the work is far from over. At a ceremony celebrating the National Park Service centennial last Thursday morning, Spencer encouraged spectators to continue sharing the parks with others. Established by President Woodrow Wilson in 1916, the National Park Service celebrates its 100th birthday this weekend. The agency manages 413 units across the country, from Alaska to American Samoa. The celebration began Thursday morning with a slate of keynote speakers, including Spencer, retired U.S. Senator Ben Nighthorse Campbell, and Theodore Roosevelt impersonator Will Gray. President Theodore Roosevelt signed an act in June 1906 that established Mesa Verde as a national park about 10 years before the formation of the National Park Service in 2016. To clarify, in early June 1906, he signed the Antiquities Act, which provided for the protection of artifacts on federal lands and gave a president the power to designate national monuments. The Continental celebration is especially significant because President Barack Obama dedicated the Park Service's 413th unit Wednesday, using his authority under the Antiquities Act. The 87,000-acre Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument protects lakes and forests in central Maine, nothing newly established in our area so far. Spencer said the centennial celebrates not only the Park Service's birthday, but also the agency's gift to the people. 8 crew members from the USS Mesa Verde visited the park to commemorate the occasion. Captain Randall Peck said it's important for his crew members to be familiar with the namesake park and know the resilience of the ancestral Puebloan people who live there. The ancient Mesa Verde settlers share some of the same values as the U.S. Navy, Peck said. The crew members are living in the park for several days working on a trail project in the park. The ceremony ended with a crowd of about 50 people singing happy birthday to the national parks. Spencer thanked the park partners and staff members. He encouraged spectators to continue exploring Mesa Verde and the rest of the national parks. The celebration at Mesa Verde was sponsored by Mesa Verde park partner Osprey Pax, who are just starting groundbreaking on their new 26,310 square foot building facility east of Park Street on the corner of Mildred and Empire in Cortez. A sampling of nationwide events is available on the National Park Service website, nps.gov, and more info can be found at findyourpark.com.
According to the Cortez Journal, a large rockfall occurred last Tuesday between Coalbank and Mullis Passes on U.S. Highway 550 south of Silverton. A minivan hit a rock about 7 p.m., which caused minor damage to the minivan, according to the Colorado State Patrol. The freezing temperatures cause water between the rocks to expand, which loosens boulders. The process is repeated with the warming days and the freezing nights. Monsoon rains also loosen rocks and can send mud and debris washing over roads. The Colorado Department of Transportation has a 10-person crew and 6 pieces of heavy equipment improving a section of Colorado Highway 145 west of Telluride, where mud and debris filled culverts and ran across the road. Motorists were advised to expect intermittent delays from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Monday through Friday for the next 2 weeks. The Durango area has several problem areas when it comes to rockfall, including Colorado Highway 3 and Bondad Hill. Crews performed mitigation this summer in both locations, but more needs to be done at the top of Bondad Hill, where a couple of bus-sized boulders have landed on U.S. Highway 550, said Lisa Schwantes, spokeswoman with CDOT. The Highway Department also did rock mitigation on U.S. Highway 160 between Durango and Pagosa Springs, including clearing debris and installing new mesh material that captures boulders before they fall onto the road.
According to the Durango Herald, trying to clear up spreading rumors on the continuing saga of the EPA activities in Colorado, they reported that the heavy rains of last week caused an overflow at the EPA's temporary treatment plant north of Silverton, releasing discolored water into Cement Creek. An internal alert was sent August 23rd among EPA staff members and some local officials, but the EPA did not notify media and the public about the spillage at the time. Cement Creek is flowing turbid and discolored due to heavy rains at the Gold King mine site. Brent Mayer, congressional liaison for the EPA, wrote in an email with the subject line Gold King Mine/Cement Creek Alert. This additional water has overwhelmed the recirculation pumps that normally recirculate treated water that has seeped from the sediment filter bags, as the water can contain residual treatment solids. The treated water overflowed the sediment filter bag pad for a short period of time. Christy St. Clair, a spokeswoman with the EPA, said in a statement issued last Thursday night, procedures in the Gold King Mine stakeholders alert and notification plan were followed during the August 23rd heavy rains, and government officials were properly notified. Discharged water and solids that entered Cement Creek had been treated with lime and consisted of precipitated metals in the form of metal hydroxides, which will quickly settle out of the creek. The incident was resolved in about 2 hours, she stated in an email. Brian Devine, Surface and Drinking Water Manager at the San Juan Basin Health Department, said public health and emergency management personnel received the alert Tuesday and determined that increased flows were negligible and required no further action. Devine said it never reached a level where we needed to send out a public notice. La Plata County Emergency Management Director Butch Knowlton said, based on the volume of the overflow, irrigation ditches, drinking water, and recreational uses out of the Animas River were not affected. Devine said the health department tracked water quality data in Cement Creek and the Animas River, and levels were consistent with a heavy rain event in the basin. Officials with the city of Farmington did not have information immediately available on that state's reaction to the overflow. Lack of public notification led to widespread rumors, with some residents along the watershed fearing that a major breach and even a complete failure had occurred at the temporary plant used to treat wastewater from the Gold King mine. This is a continuation of the lack of trust in response to the incident of the blowout at the mine on August 5, 2015, which, as you must know by now, dumped 3 million gallons of mine wastewater into the creek. The water treatment plant was built in the wake of the spill.
According to the Durango Herald, when Jason Spruill was appointed in April as Mancos Marshal, he had several goals for the department. After the first few months on the job, he believes he's making progress. Spruill had served as acting marshal since December after John Cox resigned. The Mancos Town Board appointed Spruill in April after he and several other candidates went through a rigorous application process that included a background check, polygraph test, and psychological assessment. The assessment was intensified after Cox was accused and later sentenced to 6 months of probation for falsifying a citation to a woman for driving 45 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. Spruill is working to rebuild trust in the marshal's office and is going into the community doing more business checks and patrols on foot, he said. The department has doubled the amount of business checks, Spruill said. Under Spruill, the office has increased training, making sure staff members meet the required number of training hours for their post and know how to deal with people who are dealing with mental illness. Continuing with that professional development is important for the community, Spruill said. The Mancos Marshal's Office also has become involved once again with the Regional Child Protection and multidisciplinary teams. The Child Protection Team is a group of law enforcement officers, residents, social services, and daycare centers that come together to discuss various child welfare cases. And now here's our weather report.
For the northern part of the state, a high-pressure system is building and will dry out that area for the first half of the work week. For our Dolores County Broadcast Network viewing area, we will have scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon that will fade out after sunset. No overnight rain is expected for our area. Tomorrow will follow that same pattern. Tuesday night through Wednesday night will be somewhat clearer. A few hundredths of an inch are possible this afternoon and tomorrow, and a bit less Wednesday. Most activity will be over the central and southern mountains, and this means the mountains surrounding the San Juan Basin. Some gustiness nearing 30 miles per hour is likely, and some small hail may occur in some areas, as well as brief heavy rains. A low pressure trough is expected to move inland to the Pacific Northwest and move east across the Rockies by late this week. That will draw on moist southwest flow and bring increasing chances of moisture beginning Thursday for us. It is still too early to have a realistic estimation of how much moisture that change may bring. I should know more by Wednesday. A cold front sinking southward from Canada will change the weather pattern in the north-central U.S. Cooler and more pleasant conditions are expected for the beginning of the week over the north-central U.S. Ahead of the front, though, a surge of warm and humid air will likely develop showers and storms from eastern New Mexico to the upper Great Lakes. With isolated showers, heavy rainfall, and flooding, local flash flooding issues. Note one area of flash flooding from halfway up the east slope down over the east half of New Mexico and all the Texas Panhandle and the El Paso to the Big Bend area. Curiously, the western edge of that red-hatched area is almost exactly following the Rio Grande River. Another flash flood area along the Texas coast, and a third on the southern tip of Florida. And the last one way up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. The Texas moisture will be due to a weak upper-level low over the Gulf with a deep layer of moisture being drawn around it. 1 to 3 inches are expected onshore, with more than that off the coast. The tropical depression crossing south of Key West is the deliverer of the flash flood conditions for Florida. Widespread cloudiness and a bunch of showers and thunderstorms there. High pressure, high temperatures over the next 5 days will be near 80, and lows will be in the low to mid 50s. As usual, lower areas in the southwest end of the county usually run 5 to 10 degrees warmer, and higher areas in the east end of the county can be running that much cooler. Last week's CO2 average was 401.97 parts per million. Week before last, 401.85 parts per million. 1 year ago was 398.97 parts per million, and 10 years back was 379.88 parts per million. And now back to the news.
According to the Cortez Journal, a type of biomass may be an untapped market for the vast stands of ponderosa pine in the San Juan National Forest that are in dire need of thinning. Ponderosa timber does not have a very lucrative market, and forest sales are mostly for a limited firewood market. The situation creates a vexing problem for government foresters charged with thinning out overstocked forests in order to minimize risk of wildfire and beetle infestation. The alternative biochar market is seen as a potential solution. Biochar is created by chipping and burning low-value wood in a specialized gasification plant to create electrical energy. A byproduct is a type of charcoal, biochar, used as a soil amendment. A biochar plant is currently being planned in Archuleta County and is targeting low-value pine under a long-term contract with the Rio Grande National Forest. Developer J.R. Ford's vision is to create a local biochar industry to improve forest health, create jobs, and provide an alternative energy source. The multi-million project is in the planning stages, Ford said, and is moving forward. Getting local electrical co-ops to purchase the 3.5 megawatts of power he expects to generate at his plant has been a challenge, though.
And now a Marijuana Minute Monday from the Durango Herald. A 15-year-old Colorado boy who helped pass a law requiring schools to allow students to use medical marijuana has sadly died. Jack Splitt used marijuana to treat pain from cerebral palsy, and he and his mother, Stacy Lynn, began pushing for what ultimately became known as Jack's Law after a school employee ripped a skin patch delivering cannabis-derived medication off of his arm in February of 2015. Lynn told the Denver Post that Splitt's debilitating muscle contractions worsened last Wednesday and he died just after days starting at classes at Wheat Ridge High School. The law, which was signed by Governor John Hickenlooper in June, requires schools to allow a parent or caregiver to administer medical marijuana on campus. Previously, the law allowed school districts to permit medical marijuana treatments for students under certain conditions, but advocates said it was useless because none of the state's 178 school districts used that authority. School officials opposed the law, fearing they could lose millions in federal funds for allowing the use of a drug illegal under federal law. But parents told lawmakers about how their children were unable to attend school because of the ban on marijuana treatments. Medical marijuana has been legal in several states for 2 decades, but school districts and lawmakers nationwide are only now starting to grapple with thorny issues about student use. We'll be following up on the news focus of U.S. governmental patent 6630507, which covers the potential use of non-psychoactive cannabinoids, chemical compounds found within the plant species Cannabis sativa, to protect the brain from damage or degeneration caused by certain diseases such as psoriasis. Simply translated, this 2003 patent was awarded to our government, ostensibly as a medical use for marijuana, while seemingly hypocritical, denying rescheduling from a narcotic classification based on there being no known medical uses. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
According to the Cortez Journal, a proposed $39 million internet broadband project for Montezuma County is still moving forward, organizers say, but has been delayed until 2017 to explore options and work towards lowering costs. But a key initial hurdle for the project is persuading voters to opt out of SB 152, which will be on the upcoming November ballot for Montezuma County and the town of Dolores. The 2005 law restricts local governments from building or investing in new broadband infrastructure. Mancos opted out in the spring election, and Cortez is not affected by the law because it developed fiber optic internet infrastructure before SB 152 was enacted. Currently, more than 60 Colorado communities have voted to opt out of SB 152. Jones emphasized that the question to opt out of the restrictive telecommunication law this November is separate from a proposed 1% sales tax to fund the project. If voters opt out of the SB 152, the sales tax question then could go on the November 2017 ballot. The Montezuma County Commission, local town boards, and the Ute Mountain Ute Tribal Council have expressed support for the ambitious broadband project. Planners were initially pushing for voters to decide this November on a 1% sales tax to fund the broadband project. But because of incomplete plans, public uncertainty, and a missed deadline with the Colorado Department of Revenue, officials decided to delay the sales tax question until next year. Delaying the project was disappointing for some, but for some, it provided some breathing room.
Reported in the Cortez Journal, the Mexican Water chapter of the Navajo Nation is hosting 3 workshops this fall to show residents how to plant permaculture-style food forests. The free workshops are open to anyone and will be on August 31st, September 28th, and October 26th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Mexican Water Chapter House, located on North Highway 191, mile marker 2, north of Mexican Water, Arizona. Permaculture uses berms and swales to catch rainwater and runoff in order to improve food and crop production in dry desert climates. Instructors include Grant Curry of the Permaculture Provision Project based in Montezuma County, Navajo organizer Tracy Raymond, and Curtis Yanito, grazing manager for the Mexican Hat chapter. Once the berm and swales are built to capture and hold moisture, fruit trees, berry shrubs, and medicine plants are planted to provide food and shade and prevent erosion. Trapping the water will also help recharge groundwater and springs. Our concern is water. We don't want it leaving the reservation, so the goal is to capture as much as we can, says Raymond. We want to spread this information on the permaculture technique so that eventually we get more vegetation and fruit trees across the reservation. Organizers say every time it rains, 100,000 gallons of rainwater flows past the chapter house in Walker Creek and Chinle Wash. The first workshop will focus on building the berm and swale at the chapter house. Subsequent workshops will focus on planting food-producing trees and shrubs and installing drip irrigation. Residents will learn how to turn their land into water harvesting landscapes that yield food for generations once the initial work of planting is done. Setting up drip irrigation systems is needed to help the food forest watered until they can reach into the underground water reservoir and sustain themselves without irrigation. We need to relearn how to work with nature so we can all benefit from it, Yanito said. Western Excelsior of Mancos has donated aspen-based mulch for the project. DePaul University has donated trees and drip irrigation to get the food gardens established. For more information, call Curtis Yanito at 435-459-0688 or Grant Curry at 970-769-1351.
And now for the Dolores County Sheriff's Roundup for the week of August 22nd through the 28th. A deputy responded to a report of a disturbance at the dinner bell. This resulted in the arrest of a man of Cortez on charges of possession of drug paraphernalia, an outstanding warrant, and driving without a valid driver's license. Jordan R. Hankins was later arrested in Cortez for eluding a police officer and disorderly conduct. Hankins had additional outstanding warrants from outside of our county. A deputy investigated a report of a minor non-injury motor vehicle accident. A deputy stopped and turned around a tractor trailer in town after a report was made of a port runner out of the Utah Port of Entry. That's it for today's Roundup. Stay tuned tomorrow for more updates.
In today's High Country happenings, September 17th, Mesa Verde National Park staff will host a Centennial Fun Run and Walk as part of a continuing celebration for the National Park Service Centennial. A 5.5-mile race will begin at 9 a.m. at the Chapin Mesa Museum parking area. A 1-mile walk run will begin immediately after. The Mesa Top and Cliff Palace Loop drives will be closed during the race. Registration is available online at itsyourrace.com. Participants may also register from 1 to 5 p.m. on September 8th at the Colorado Welcome Center in Cortez or at the Mancos Library in Mancos. Registration fees are $20 from August 17th to the 10th of September, $25 from September 11th to the 16th, and $30 on the day of the race. All registered participants will receive a t-shirt. Parking will be available near the Chapin Mesa Museum. Tuesday, August 30th, live hip-hop music with Count Bass D, Wind Chill, Naive, Proximity, and more will start at 9 p.m. at Blondie's in Cortez. There's a cover charge of $5, age 21 and older. For details, call 970-739-4944. And in a musical end note, it has been announced today that Latin jazz trumpeter and recording industry executive Herb Alpert has made a $10.1 million donation to the Los Angeles City College through his foundation to enable free tuition for all music majors. The free tuition for up to 250 music students will take effect from the beginning of the 2017 school year. Mr. Alpert co-founded A&M Records in 1962. His notable artists include Chris Montez, The Carpenters, Sergio Mendes, Brazil 66, Bill Medley, Liza Minnelli, and Janet Jackson. "I visited the school. It's alive. It's kicking," Mr. Albert said. He is probably best known for his punched-up yet smooth trumpet sounds as a part of Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass. Mr. Albert is 81 years young. All of the happenings are posted up on our DCTV News at Noon Facebook page, along with the embedded YouTube replays of the live show and the exclusive DCTV 5-day forecast. If you have an event, you can email us at dcbnews@gmail.com or call the station at 677-4119, and we'll be sure to get it on air.
Thanks for tuning in. This program is aired live at noon Monday through Wednesday, then rebroadcast at 2:30 and 8 p.m., and again aired Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in the same order at noon, 2:30, and 8 p.m. each day, respectively.
And again, check us out on Facebook. We'd love for you to like us there and spread the word. We are now 2 shows away from our 100th broadcast. Thank you for all the support you have shown us.
For Kendra Cook, Jerry Tope, and everyone at DCTV with the News at Noon program out of Dove Creek, USA, I'm Kelsey Kiesling. We'll see you tomorrow.